Oh, wow. It's inscripted stone.
It's inscribed with the name of the king Khafra, Khafra, the owner of the second pyramid. This block dates back to the age of the pyramid.
For generations, we've accepted that the ancient Egyptians were the brilliant minds behind this architectural wonder.
We're taught in school that the Great Pyramid is a tomb, but if you look at the complexity of these buildings, the precision with which they were built, the features that you see on the inside.
There were 4 pillars that are now nearly completely destroyed.
But what if that's not true? What if they didn't build these massive structures at all, but instead inherited them? Come along as we dive into revolutionary theories, examine fresh discoveries, and question everything we've been taught about one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Digging deeper than ever before. Modern archaeology isn't what it used to be. Gone are the days when you needed a pickaxe and a lot of determination. Today's researchers use technology that sounds like science fiction. Ground-penetrating radar sends electromagnetic pulses deep into the earth, mapping what lies beneath without disturbing a single grain of sand. Thermal imaging detects temperature variations in stone, revealing hollow spaces behind seemingly solid walls.
And these technologies is being used to measure possible damage to the healthy tissues surrounding the cancer.
And those muons we mentioned? They pass through rock like it's tissue paper, creating detailed 3-dimensional maps of internal structures. The Scan Pyramids team deployed all of these tools, and the results were staggering.
That was the very first time that some strong indication that there might be these hidden tunnels and chambers under the Sphinx.
Beyond that airplane-sized void, they discovered a corridor-shaped structure behind the pyramid's north face, measuring at least 5 meters long. In 2023, further analysis revealed its precise dimensions, and purpose remained enigmatic. These weren't random cavities formed by settling stones or structural failure. The engineering was deliberate, sophisticated, and, surprisingly, completely absent from any ancient records or hieroglyphic inscriptions describing the pyramid's construction. But the real revelation came from looking down, not up. Beneath the plateau itself, researchers have mapped an extensive network of tunnels, shafts, and chambers. Some connect directly to the pyramids. Others seem to serve no obvious purpose, disappearing into bedrock or ending abruptly at flooded chambers. The Giza Plateau isn't just a platform for monuments. It's honeycomb with hidden passages, and we're only beginning to understand their scope. The timeline paradox. Now this is where things get more interesting. According to conventional chronology, the Great Pyramid was completed around 2560 BCE, built by Pharaoh Khufu during Egypt's 4th dynasty. The evidence? Well, some quarry marks mentioning Khufu's name, found in relieving chambers above the king's chamber. Case closed, right? Not so fast. Carbon dating performed on organic materials found within the pyramid tells a different story. Some samples came back dating to 2850 BCE, nearly 300 years before Khufu supposedly ordered construction. Other samples were younger, clustering around the traditional dates. It's as if the pyramid has multiple birth certificates, each claiming a different age. Then there's the Sphinx problem. Geologist Robert Schoch spent years studying the weathering patterns on both the Sphinx and its enclosure. The erosion he documented isn't consistent with wind-blown sand, the dominant force in the Sahara for the past 5,000 years. Instead, it shows the distinctive characteristics of water erosion, deep vertical fissures and undulating surfaces carved by running water and heavy rainfall. The last time the Giza Plateau experienced that kind of sustained precipitation, somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 BCE, when North Africa was considerably wetter and the Sahara hadn't yet become the desert we know today. Schoch's seismic studies revealed subsurface weathering extending deep into the bedrock, suggesting the Sphinx had been exposed to the elements far longer than the conventional 2500 BCE date would allow. Mainstream Egyptology has pushed back hard against these findings, proposing alternative explanations involving groundwater, flash flooding, or different rates of rock erosion. But the debate itself reveals something fascinating. Our timeline might have some serious gaps. The civilization before the pharaohs. In the Cairo Museum, there sits a stone tablet called the Inventory Stela. It's not particularly impressive to look at, just weathered limestone covered in hieroglyphs. But what it says is explosive. According to the inscription, Khufu didn't build the Great Pyramid or the Sphinx. He found them already there and simply restored them, clearing away sand that had accumulated over an unknown period. Most Egyptologists dismiss the stela as a later fabrication, carved during the 26th dynasty, roughly 2,000 years after Khufu's reign. But that raises its own questions. Why would ancient Egyptians, who revered their history and kept meticulous records, create a document claiming their greatest architectural achievement wasn't theirs at all? The stela isn't alone. Ancient Egyptian texts occasionally reference the first time, or Zep Tepi, a golden age when gods walked among men and built structures of incredible sophistication. Were these just myths? Creation stories meant to explain the world? Or could they be cultural memories of something real, a civilization whose achievements the Egyptians themselves couldn't replicate? Consider the construction techniques. The Great Pyramid contains approximately 2.3 million stone blocks, some weighing up to 70 tons.
2 million of them to create a perfect pyramid shape.
The standard explanation involves copper tools, wooden sledges, and lots of manual labor. But experiments attempting to replicate these methods using period-appropriate technology have yielded mixed results at best. Cutting through granite with copper chisels, extremely difficult and inefficient. Transporting multi-ton blocks up ramps, the ramps themselves would require more material than the pyramid. The engineering impossibilities. Let's talk precision, because this is where the whole built with copper tools theory really starts to fall apart. The Great Pyramid's base is level to within 2.1 centimeters. We're talking about a 13-acre foundation, and it's nearly perfectly flat. The sides align to true north with an accuracy of 3/60ths of a single degree. These aren't rough estimates. They're tolerances that would challenge modern construction crews with laser levels and GPS.
Here is essentially this great granite-lined box, built, for the most part, to contain the body of the king.
Inside the king's chamber, the granite blocks forming the ceiling fit together so precisely that you can't slip a playing card between them. No mortar, no adhesive, just multi-ton stones pressed together with mirror-like precision. Some of these blocks show evidence of being cut with tools that left marks consistent with high-speed rotary saws, technology that supposedly didn't exist until the Industrial Revolution.
And now we're going to focus on this, which is one of the boxes that has this very mysterious goo-like organic material on the surface and also inside.
Then there's the mystery of acoustics. The king's chamber has remarkable sound properties. Strike a crystal bowl inside, and the entire room resonates at a specific frequency. Some researchers have suggested the chamber was designed as a kind of resonance chamber, though for what purpose remains unclear. The geometry itself encodes mathematical constants, including pi and phi, the golden ratio, with remarkable accuracy. The pyramid's alignment with celestial bodies is equally precise. The 4 shafts extending from the king's and queen's chambers pointed, at the time of construction, directly at specific stars: Sirius, Orion, Thuban, and Draco. The entire Giza complex, when viewed from above, mirrors the pattern of stars in Orion's belt. Coincidence? Possibly. But it would require sophisticated astronomical knowledge and mathematical understanding far beyond what we typically attribute to Bronze Age civilization. What lies beneath? The underground network. Now we descend into the really mysterious stuff, literally. The Osiris shaft, discovered during excavations in the 1930s but not fully explored until 1999, plunges nearly 100 feet beneath the Giza plateau. It begins in the causeway, connecting the Sphinx to the second pyramid, and descends through 3 distinct levels, each revealing progressively stranger architecture. The first level contains an entry chamber, with walls showing curious erosion patterns, as if water had rushed through repeatedly over an extended period. The second level opens into a room lined with 6 chambers, each containing a granite sarcophagus. No bodies, no treasures, no inscriptions, just empty stone boxes carved from solid granite. But it's the third level that truly captivates. At the bottom of the shaft lies a flooded chamber filled with crystal clear water, despite being far below the water table. A massive granite sarcophagus sits on an island platform, surrounded by a moat carved into bedrock. The engineering required to create this space staggers the imagination. Someone excavated deep into solid rock, carved out multiple chambers, and installed multi-ton granite boxes, all underground, in a space that would have required constant pumping to keep dry during construction. Egyptologist Zahi Hawass, who led the excavation team, dated the shaft to the 26th dynasty based on pottery shards found in the upper levels. But here's the thing. Pottery tells you when someone visited a site, not when they built it. The architecture itself, those precision-carved chambers, that perfectly level platform, could be far older, with later Egyptians simply reusing and venerating a space created by their predecessors. The shaft isn't unique. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed multiple similar structures across the plateau, many still flooded or partially collapsed. Some appear to connect through underground passages, suggesting an integrated system, rather than isolated chambers. What purpose did they serve? Tombs seem unlikely. Who builds a tomb where you'd need to swim to reach the sarcophagus? Ritual spaces, water management infrastructure, nobody knows for certain. The lost technology theory. Here's a question that keeps engineers up at night. How did they cut the granite, not limestone? Limestone is relatively soft, and Bronze Age tools could work it, albeit slowly. But granite is one of the hardest stones on Earth. Modern stone-cutting operations use diamond-tipped saws or high-pressure water jets. Yet somehow, ancient workers cut granite blocks with such precision that the surfaces achieve optical flatness. Some blocks show circular saw marks with a cutting rate that exceeds what even modern diamond-tipped saws achieve. Inside the Serapeum at Saqqara, massive granite boxes weighing 70 tons each were carved from single pieces of stone, with perfectly square internal corners and walls of uniform thickness. Try cutting a perfect 90-degree internal corner in granite with copper tools. It's not impossible, it's functionally absurd. Christopher Dunn, a precision engineer, has spent decades studying the tool marks on various Egyptian stonework. His conclusion? Many artifacts show characteristics consistent with advanced machining techniques. Tubular drill cores with spiral grooves indicating rapid cutting rates, perfectly flat surfaces that would require precision grinding, saw marks suggesting blade thicknesses incompatible with Bronze Age technology. Then there's the transportation mystery. The granite used in the king's chamber came from quarries at Aswan, roughly 500 miles south of Giza. Each block weighs between 50 and 70 tons. The accepted explanation involves barges floating the stones down the Nile during flood season, then dragging them overland on sledges. But let's do the math. A 50-ton block requires hundreds of workers pulling in perfect coordination. The sledges would need constantly wetted sand to reduce friction. Doable, but resource-intensive. And this wasn't a one-time event. Thousands of blocks made this journey. The logistical coordination alone boggles the mind. Quarrying crews, transportation teams, construction workers, food suppliers, tool makers, all working in harmony for decades. Some researchers suggest the ancient Egyptians possessed knowledge of mechanical advantage, pulleys, levers, counterweights, far more sophisticated than the historical record indicates. Others propose acoustic levitation, electromagnetic principles, or other exotic technologies. These theories range from plausible to fantastical, but they all share a common origin: the profound difficulty of explaining how these structures were built using conventional means. Evidence of inheritance, not creation. Pay attention to the hieroglyphics, or rather, their absence. The Great Pyramid's interior chambers are remarkably free of inscription. No boasting about the pharaoh's accomplishments, no religious texts, no decorative scenes of daily life. This is bizarre. Egyptians loved to inscribe everything, leaving detailed records of their achievements. Yet the most impressive structure ever built is practically blank inside. The few inscriptions that do exist raise eyebrows. Those quarry marks in the relieving chambers? They weren't meant to be seen. They're in spaces sealed off during construction, only discovered when researchers broke through in the 19th century. Some researchers have questioned their authenticity, suggesting they might be modern forgeries created by early excavators eager to establish definitive dating. Compare this to later pyramids, built during the 5th and 6th dynasties. These are covered in hieroglyphics, the famous pyramid texts containing spells and instructions for the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife. They're also noticeably less impressive in terms of construction quality. Smaller, cruder, showing clear signs of the builder's limitations. It's as if there was a golden age of pyramid building, precise, massive, sophisticated, followed by a decline. Later pharaohs were trying to replicate something they didn't fully understand. Like medieval Europeans building crude castles next to Roman aqueducts, they could no longer construct themselves. This pattern extends beyond pyramids. Many temples show evidence of multiple construction phases, with older sections built from massive megalithic blocks, precisely fitted without mortar, while later additions use smaller stones and mortar to fill gaps. The Valley Temple next to the Sphinx exemplifies this. Its core consists of 200-ton limestone blocks, fitted with incredible precision, while later facing stones are clearly repair work or additions. The suppressed findings. Now we enter controversial territory. Over the decades, various researchers have claimed that significant discoveries at Giza have been suppressed, hidden, or deliberately ignored by archaeological authorities. Some of these claims are demonstrably false, the work of conspiracy theorists seeking attention, but others raise legitimate questions about academic resistance to paradigm-shifting evidence. In 1993, German engineer Rudolf Gantenbrink sent a robotic crawler up one of the narrow shafts in the Queen's Chamber. At the shaft's end, the robot found a limestone door with copper handles.
This robot traveled up this small shaft, which was too small for a human or any type of device to go through. And all of a sudden it finds a closed door, hinged by two little metal clamps.
What lay beyond? Gantenbrink wanted to continue exploring, but his access to the pyramid was revoked, and further investigation didn't occur for nearly a decade. When researchers finally did send another robot through in 2002, they drilled through the door to find another door. And beyond that, the results were never fully published. The official explanation involved a small chamber with no significant findings, but the lack of transparency fueled speculation about hidden chambers or artifacts. There's also the matter of the Sphinx Hall of Records. American psychic Edgar Cayce claimed in the 1930s that a library of ancient knowledge lay hidden beneath the Sphinx, containing records from a pre-Egyptian civilization. While Cayce's methods were hardly scientific, his claims inspired serious researchers to investigate. Seismic studies in the 1990s did detect anomalies beneath the Sphinx's paws, possible chambers or cavities, but attempts to excavate have been repeatedly denied by Egyptian authorities, who cite concerns about structural damage. Are these legitimate concerns, or is someone hiding something? The truth probably lies somewhere in between. Archaeological sites require careful management and protection. Not every anomaly detected by ground-penetrating radar indicates a hidden chamber. Sometimes it's just geological variation. But the level of secrecy and restricted access does foster suspicion, particularly when conventional dating and construction theories have so many holes. Modern discoveries, reshaping history. Let's return to recent verifiable findings. In 2023, researchers published detailed scans of that corridor structure discovered behind the pyramid's chevron blocks. Using advanced muon tomography, they determined the passage measures approximately 9 meters long and extends deeper into the pyramid's core. Its purpose remains unknown, but its very existence demonstrates that even with centuries of study, the pyramid still holds secrets. Meanwhile, excavations at Saqqara,
it's an incredible achievement architecturally,
just south of Giza, continue to yield stunning discoveries. In 2020, archaeologists opened 59 sealed sarcophagi buried for over 2,000 years. In 2021, they found a temple dedicated to an unknown deity. In 2023, they discovered more sealed tombs containing mummies and artifacts that fill gaps in our understanding of Egyptian burial practices. But here's what's interesting. Many of these Saqqara discoveries come from the much later periods of Egyptian history, the Ptolemaic and Roman eras. Yet they're being found beneath and around structures from the Old Kingdom. It's as if later Egyptians were constantly digging around and building near much older monuments, trying to connect themselves to an ancient heritage they revered, but no longer fully understood. Ground-penetrating radar surveys conducted across the entire Giza plateau in recent years have revealed dozens of unexcavated structures.
That was the very first time that some strong indication that there might be these hidden tunnels and chambers under the Sphinx.
Some are probably tombs or temples, similar to what we've already found. Others show unusual characteristics: anomalously large underground spaces, chambers at unusual depths, structures with no obvious surface features indicating their presence. Budget constraints, political considerations, and the need to preserve the site for future researchers mean most of these targets remain uninvestigated. But each one represents a potential game changer, a possible piece of evidence that could rewrite our understanding of when, how, and by whom these incredible structures were created. The water civilization connection. Let's talk about water. Ancient Egypt was, as Herodotus famously wrote, the gift of the Nile. But the relationship between the pyramids and water goes deeper than simple geography. The Giza Plateau itself shows clear evidence of significant water interaction, far beyond what the modern climate could produce. Geological surveys have mapped ancient watercourses across the plateau, channels that once carried substantial flow during periods of heavier rainfall. Some of these channels run directly beneath pyramid structures, suggesting either incredible luck in site selection or deliberate integration of water features into the complex's design. The historian Herodotus, writing in the 5th century BCE, described channels that brought Nile water to the pyramids, creating artificial lakes or moats around burial chambers. For centuries, scholars dismissed this as myth or misunderstanding, but the Osiris shaft, with its water-filled lowest chamber, suggests Herodotus might have been describing something real. Some researchers propose that the pyramids incorporated sophisticated hydraulic systems, using water pressure and counterweights to help lift massive stone blocks during construction. Others suggest the structures served functions related to water management, perhaps as part of an irrigation system or aquifer engineering. These theories remain speculative, but the physical evidence of water erosion, underground channels, and intentionally flooded chambers can't be ignored. The climate question ties directly to dating. During the period between 10,000 and 5,000 BCE, North Africa experienced what geologists call the African humid period. The Sahara wasn't a desert, it was savanna, dotted with lakes, crossed by rivers, inhabited by diverse wildlife. Stone Age humans lived there, leaving behind cave paintings and tools. If the Sphinx and pyramid structures show erosion patterns consistent with that wetter climate, it pushes their origin into a period when, according to conventional history, humans were still living in small hunter-gatherer bands. Yet here we have evidence of massive stone construction, precise astronomical alignment, and sophisticated engineering.
And even from understanding the engineering of the pyramid, the people of the pyramid are coming back to life for us.
Either our climate dating is wrong, or our understanding of human technological development needs serious revision. Rewriting ancient history. So what does it all mean? Let's be honest, we don't know. Not definitively. But the evidence increasingly suggests that the story we've been telling about ancient Egypt is incomplete at best, fundamentally flawed at worst. The possibility that the pyramids and Sphinx predate the pharaohs who claimed them doesn't diminish ancient Egyptian civilization, it makes it more impressive. Imagine inheriting structures built by a predecessor culture and attempting to maintain, restore, and understand them. Imagine looking at these monuments and feeling the same awe we do, wondering who built them and how. Perhaps the pharaohs weren't architects of the pyramids, but custodians.
The Great Pyramid is a testament to ancient Egyptians' ingenuity, acumen, and technical and scientific prowess.
Perhaps they were trying to connect themselves to an ancient heritage, claiming continuity with a golden age dimly remembered in myth and legend. The later pyramids, smaller, less precise, covered in inscriptions, might represent their attempts to recreate what they found, working from incomplete understanding. This interpretation aligns with patterns seen worldwide. Across the globe, massive megalithic structures exist that local civilizations couldn't have built with their known technology. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, Pumapunku in Bolivia, the Yonaguni Monument off Japan. In each case, later cultures built around, renovated, or attributed their own meanings to structures they may not have originally constructed. The evidence from deep excavations, geological studies, advanced scanning technologies, and good old-fashioned archaeological investigation continues to accumulate. Hidden chambers, unexplained tunnels, erosion patterns that don't match the timeline, construction techniques that challenge our assumptions about ancient capabilities. All of it points toward a more complex story than the textbooks tell. Does this mean ancient Egyptians had help from extraterrestrials? Number. Does it suggest they possessed lost technologies far beyond Bronze Age norms? Possibly. Does it indicate there was a sophisticated civilization predating dynastic Egypt that we haven't yet identified in the archaeological record? The evidence increasingly suggests yes. The beauty of these ongoing discoveries is that they remind us how much we still don't know. Every new chamber uncovered, every unexplained feature documented, every dating anomaly investigated brings us closer to the truth. The pyramids have stood for thousands of years, silently guarding their secrets. Thanks to modern technology and persistent researchers willing to question established narratives, those secrets are finally beginning to emerge from the depths. The deepest excavations in Egypt's history aren't just physical, they're conceptual. We're digging into our assumptions, challenging our timelines, and excavating layers of established doctrine that may have obscured the truth for generations. What we find might be more revolutionary than any hidden chamber or sealed tomb. Because ultimately, the greatest discovery isn't what lies beneath the sand. It's the realization that we've barely begun to understand one of humanity's most enduring mysteries. The pyramids aren't just monuments to the dead. They're time capsules from a past we're only now beginning to glimpse. Messages from a civilization speaking across millennia, waiting for us to finally understand what they're trying to say. And that, perhaps, is the most shocking discovery of all.